came out once again with her hair on fire. Stephanie White benched her.
That moment we just saw play out is a perfect example of how a team can quickly create frustration inside the locker room and lose the trust of a dedicated fan base. It's the kind of decision making that raises serious questions about the direction of the team. What makes it even more surprising is that the coaching staff appears to be limiting the effectiveness of the very player and offensive system that drives their success.
Look at this, folks. Fever in the first half versus the Fire. 9 of 29, 31%, 1 of 10 from three-point.
Pulling your lead creator from the floor, the player who represents the heart of the franchise, right as she starts attacking. With confidence in establishing the game's momentum is far more than a routine coaching adjustment. It's the type of decision that can't simply be explained away with a few comments after the final buzzer.
Caitlin Clark came out like her hair was on fire. Stephanie White pulled her, I believe, 3 minutes. 3 mother effing minutes into the game, and it was a wrap.
There's no need to sugarcoat what's happening here. What we're watching is a clear and highly visible battle for control unfolding in front of a national audience. With millions of eyes on the situation, the tension is becoming impossible to ignore, and it's creating cracks throughout the organization that threaten to undermine the franchise from within.
This was halftime. I want you to look at the ratio of likes to comments on the Indiana Fever page. They are getting ratioed to hell. I can only imagine. Oh, wow. It's already started. We'll look at that in the morning. 85 likes to 159 comments.
Take a look at the numbers that followed that head-scratching decision, because the impact showed up almost immediately. The team shot just 9 of 29 from the field, struggling to reach even the 30% mark, a performance that's simply not good enough for a professional team. And it wasn't only the shooting that suffered. The offensive structure completely fell apart, with players packed into the same areas of the floor, eliminating spacing and making it nearly impossible to create clean looks or run the offense effectively.
Monique Billings didn't even play 8 minutes. Why was she signed exactly?
From a strategic basketball perspective, the outcome shouldn't be surprising at all. When you take off the floor the one player who consistently commands defensive attention well beyond the arc, you make life significantly easier for the opposing team. Defenders can shrink the floor, clog driving lanes, and disrupt the offense, creating the exact type of breakdown that followed.
There's a video that has come out of Caitlin Clark talking about, yeah, we need to get the ball into the post and yada, yada, yada. What bothers me the most is it's starting to sound like Stephanie White has finally beat down Caitlin Clark. And it's really concerning.
The opposing defense barely had to adjust to slow Indiana down. They simply crowded the lane, stayed disciplined, and watched the Fever offense struggle to generate any rhythm or clean scoring opportunities. The floor felt cramped, possessions became stagnant, and the entire attack looked out of sync. What makes the situation even harder to understand is the timing of the decision that helped create it. 3 minutes into the opening quarter, a franchise cornerstone was already heading to the bench. Whether the explanation was rest, a coaching adjustment, or frustration over a defensive mistake, it's the kind of move that immediately raises eyebrows. Players make small mistakes throughout every game, pulling a star that quickly sends a message, and not necessarily the one a team wants to send. It looked like a team struggling to find alignment and consistency. The expansion squad on the other side saw an opportunity and took advantage of it, playing with confidence while the Fever searched for answers. As expected, fans reacted immediately. Social media lit up with criticism from every direction, and the frustration wasn't coming from casual observers alone. Much of the backlash came from dedicated viewers who felt they were watching. A team moved further away from the style of basketball that gives it the best chance to succeed. The reaction reflected genuine concern about the direction of the offense and the decisions being made during crucial stretches of the game. Those concerns naturally lead to bigger questions about roster management. Take Monique Billings, for example. Indiana brought in an experienced veteran with toughness, energy, and rebounding ability, yet she spent much of the night watching from the sideline while the team struggled in areas where her skill set could have provided help. When a team is losing physical battles in the paint and on the glass, it's fair to wonder why available depth isn't being utilized more aggressively. The larger concern, however, goes beyond a single game or rotation choice. It centers on the overall identity of the team. One of the most revealing moments came after the game, when comments from a player known for her creativity, pace, and perimeter play seemed completely disconnected from the style that made her successful in the first place. Rather than hearing confidence and freedom, many heard someone repeating concepts that didn't seem to fit her natural strengths. That's what makes the situation so concerning. This isn't simply about a player adjusting to a system. It's about whether the system is maximizing the talents of the players on the roster. When elite playmakers appear hesitant, restricted, or uncomfortable, it's reasonable to question whether the team is fully embracing the modern style of basketball that thrives on spacing, movement, tempo, and decision-making. To understand why so many people are frustrated, you also have to consider the context of the matchup itself. Indiana wasn't facing a long-established contender with years of chemistry and continuity. They were playing an expansion team still, in the early stages of building its identity. Historically, expansion rosters are assembled from available players across the league and often need time to develop cohesion. Yet, despite those challenges, the opposing team looked connected from the DAS. Opening tip: their defensive rotations were sharp, their communication was constant, and their effort level never dipped. They switched seamlessly, closed out aggressively, and played with the kind of collective purpose that every coach hopes to see. Meanwhile, Indiana often appeared disconnected offensively, struggling to establish the flow and organization expected from a roster with significantly higher expectations. That's what made the performance so striking. One team looked unified, confident, and committed to a clear game plan. The other spent much of the night searching for answers, and the contrast was impossible to ignore. The television aspect of this game cannot be overlooked because it turns what would normally be viewed as a disappointing regular season loss into something much larger. The WNBA has spent years working to expand its visibility and earn valuable national television opportunities. Those broadcast windows are incredibly important for growing the league, attracting new viewers, and showcasing its biggest stars to the widest possible audience. When a nationally televised game is built around one of the league's most recognizable attractions, expectations naturally rise. Casual fans, longtime supporters, and first-time viewers all tune in hoping to see a competitive, entertaining product. Instead, what unfolded was a one-sided performance in Decision Guide, which a highly anticipated team never seemed capable of finding its footing. For many viewers who may not follow the league regularly, that first impression carries significant weight. That's why games like this matter beyond the final score. National broadcasts represent opportunities to build momentum, strengthen fan interest, and demonstrate the quality of the league. When a team struggles badly under that spotlight, the impact extends far beyond a single loss in the standings. Looking deeper into the box score creates another layer of discussion. At first glance, seeing double-digit scoring totals from key frontcourt players might suggest a relatively productive night, but numbers rarely tell the complete story without context. A large portion of that production came after the game had already slipped out of reach, long after the outcome was effectively decided. That distinction matters because raw statistics can sometimes create a misleading picture of what actually happened on the court. When starters continue logging heavy minutes during a lopsided contest, the final numbers may appear more competitive than the game itself ever was. The scoreboard might show respectable individual totals, but those figures don't necessarily reflect the struggles that defined the night. The conversation also extends to the post-game coverage surrounding the team. After a loss of this magnitude, particularly one accompanied by controversial rotation choices, and visible frustration from players. Many fans expect tough questions and detailed explanations. Those moments are often viewed as opportunities to gain clarity about the decisions that shape the outcome. Instead, critics argue that some of the most important topics aren't always being explored with enough urgency. Questions surrounding coaching decisions, roster usage, strategic adjustments, and overall team direction are the kinds of discussions supporters want addressed when performances fall far below expectations. Accountability is a natural part of professional sports, especially when a team with championship aspirations struggles in such a public way. The reason this conversation resonates so strongly is because the stakes extend beyond one franchise. Fan engagement plays a major role in the league's continued growth, business success, and future media opportunities. Passionate supporters invest their time, money, and attention because they care deeply about the product on the floor. When those fans become increasingly frustrated by what they're watching, it creates concerns that reach beyond wins and losses. Maintaining trust, excitement, and confidence among the audience is essential for any team and, by extension, for the league as a whole. That's why performances like this generate such intense reactions, not simply because of the final score, but because of what many believe it says about the direction of the organization. Moving forward, when a team frustrates the very fans who helped fuel its rise, especially by limiting the player many came specifically to watch and embracing an offensive style that feels out of step with today's game, it risks damaging far more than its own reputation. The effects can ripple across the league because fan interest, television ratings, ticket sales, and sponsorship opportunities all contribute to the same financial ecosystem that benefits everyone involved. What makes this situation particularly significant is that Indiana isn't just another franchise. Few teams in recent memory have generated this level of attention, excitement, and national interest. If that momentum begins to fade because of decisions being made internally, the consequences won't stop at the team's doorstep. At times, the current state of the Fever makes Jim Mora's famous playoffs rant feel surprisingly relevant, because when you watch this version of the team on the floor, it's difficult to ignore the gap between expectations and reality. For a group with this much talent and visibility, the inconsistency and lack of cohesion have become impossible to overlook. Championship caliber organizations are built on alignment. They require a front office that constructs a roster with a clear vision, a coaching staff willing to adapt to its personnel, and players who are put in positions that maximize their strengths. Right now, many observers see too many signs pointing in the opposite direction. Questions continue to surface about roster construction, player deployment, and whether the team's offensive philosophy truly complements the elite talent it possesses. The biggest concern is that the issues no longer appear small enough to be solved by a few minor lineup tweaks or rotation changes. The problems seem deeper than that. When the same concerns continue appearing game after game, it suggests the organization may need to take a much broader look at its overall direction. That leaves the front office facing a critical decision. The path forward could ultimately shape the franchise for years to come. Does the organization fully commit to a modern approach designed around its cornerstone players, or does it continue down its current path and hope results eventually improve? The pressure is only increasing because elite players want to compete, win, and grow. Every organization has a responsibility to create an environment that maximizes the abilities of its biggest stars. If that doesn't happen, difficult questions naturally begin to emerge about the future. Which brings us to the central debate surrounding this team. Where does the responsibility truly lie? What do you think is the biggest issue facing the team right now? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily WNBA coverage, analysis, and updates.